Hey, everybody, welcome to a very special edition to the 2025. Where'd Tim go? Tim's like, I'm out of here, man. Zach's talking, I'm done. So, this guy just sitting here for 22 hours. He won't shut the hell up. It's our show. But welcome to a special edition for the 2025 uh, Mission for Healthy
I
Heroes.
don't know if
This
I'm
is
in here
the,
or not.
yeah,
You,
you're in
I don't
here.
know if you guys can hear me or not. Everything's froze on my
Yeah,
end.
we see
yeah.
you. We can hear you.
So gotta love technology.
Folks,
It's
he was having this kind of issue on Thursday. There we go. He was having issues on Thursday night as well. So apparently it has bled over to 48 hours later.
no, that's always wonderful. Hey, I just want to bring up two things, and then I'm going to get out of here and let you guys fly with the show. Wow, I just covered up Scott. Damn. This, uh,
Scott, you're still muted.
yeah, or your microphone's off. One of the two.
Yeah,
Oh no, you're muted.
turn your microphone off. I told you you needed to turn it back on.
Ah,
Yeah, he just want to look. He's just wants to be one of those guys looking like he's saying something. He's one of those guys who's going to sit there and move his lips but not say a damn thing and make you think you've gone deaf.
it's early.
Yeah. So, up in the corner in Scott's little box there, you're going to see a red QR code. This red QR code is a place that you can take and scan it and share that link with all of your friends. Okay. That takes you to communitypayitforward.us, uh, the page for Mission for Healthy Heroes. It lists all of the links where they can watch the videos, they can see the show, they can participate in the show. So share that link with people. The other thing that we ask you to do is, because I love QR codes, this one right here gives you a chance to participate. Tell people, tell the heroes in your life, tell the heroes like Scott, like Tim, those who have served our country, tell them thank you. Tell them we support you. Ask them questions. Do whatever you want to do. You scan this QR code, it gives you a place to leave a message. It also leaves you a place if you want to donate goods and services that we can give away. Those are always appreciated. It also gives you a chance to donate financially to help us with a couple things like rebuilding a front door of a current service person in Colorado Springs who needs to have their door rebuilt because their daughter is confined to a wheelchair. So, um, all this really helps us out with the mission for Healthy Heroes. Jeremy, Scott, thank you both so much for being here. Scott, it's great to see you again. Uh,
Always, brother.
you know, and I do appreciate what you're doing. As soon as you get Tim back, tell him I said thanks. But
We definitely will.
all right, well, you guys have one hell of a show. I'll be back about an hour and a half or so.
Go
Sounds
get a
good.
nap in.
There we
Oh,
go.
look at this! Here he is. So, but all right, Tim, thanks for everything. But we'll talk to you later.
Tim, can you hear us?
I oh great.
Wow. Um, okay, let's see here. Where did he?
You know, it's funny. He's got that picture, and that's what it's like taking a picture of a ball-headed Sasquatch. I'm just saying, right there. I mean, look at that. Good Lord. Come on, bro.
Wow. Okay, how bad was his connection on Thursday? I know there in the beginning it was real bad at first, and then you guys were able to get the show going.
Yeah, his connection's not the best, like I said. Yep, that's that Zach showing a picture. Yep, that's Tim right there. I'm telling you what.
And
Yeah, his internet connection was not good.
and evidently still not good. Let's see here.
Can you guys see me or hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
I'm guessing he cannot hear us. Hello, can you see us?
I'm trying.
That poor guy. He's got worse luck than anybody I know.
He didn't used to have this kind of problem before. It was either you or me.
Oh, always, always. But I upgraded. He didn't.
There he goes. Well, folks, we're going to be playing hot tag with Tim Kohler for the morning. Um, I don't know. Let's see here. Let's at least change this for the moment until he gets back in. So Scott, how you been?
Good, brother. Good, good. How you doing?
Doing all right. Just taking one day at a time.
That's all we can do, man. Every day. Just one day at a time. Absolutely.
So, um, real quick, so that we get this out of the way, this is episode number 99 of the 13th Dimension.
Which is absolutely amazing, bro. Absolutely amazing.
We started this. Well, we started talking. No, we started this 5 years ago almost.
Yeah.
Started talking about it 6 years ago.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's try this again.
Hi. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Can you see us?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you now. Everything.
Good.
I tried to go to my phone. My internet service has been really, really bad here lately. I've called. They just haven't got out here to fix it yet.
So it makes me wonder how many phone calls they've gotten because once the internet goes out, it's the end of the world. You know that.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is in our neighborhood, but it's been bad.
Well, hopefully they fix it by March 7th because we're going to need you.
Yeah, let's hope. So if I pop out, just know I'll be back.
Well, I was just telling the audience that we were playing hot tag with you, and that's what we're going to be doing for the day.
So I apologize in advance. I really do. I feel bad. Just know it's not my fault.
So he says, ladies and gentlemen.
I
That's
have the
right.
highest. I have the highest speed internet I can possibly have in my neighborhood.
Well, the last couple of days hasn't been showing it.
You're telling me.
What was it like this all show that you guys had on Thursday night?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
until I got it to work on my phone, yeah.
So March 7th is the date for the 100th episode of the 13th Dimension. There will be 5 of us. The 4 originals. And then he kind of is an original, but he didn't come in until the second season, Nick Millet. And then for the last 3 seasons, just been me.
Yeah.
Because you guys had to go into retirement. But you had your reasons too.
Yeah.
I am going to have a special video made because we all know I love to do videos.
And you're gonna have to we're gonna have to figure out some talking points of our favorite parts and of favorite guests and favorite parts of our show from all the way back then.
Well, I remember when we did the first episode of season 2 when you and Crystal dressed up like me and Scott.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That's pretty funny.
It was funny. We were in tears when you guys did that. We did do that. Bunch of clips from episodes. I still have those, I think. But today, this isn't about the 13th dimension. It isn't about us. Today, we are taking part of what does Zach call it? The mission for healthy heroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So today we are a part of that for the 22-hour veteran suicide awareness. And we are going to be talking about frustrations of the VA hospital.
I've already told Jeremy my thoughts on the VA.
Oh, I'll be glad to share my thoughts with you. I'm just saying.
He had a very simple answer. It took 5 seconds. Okay, well, that's the show. We'll go back
Yeah.
on.
Don't do it.
Shit. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, for some people out there, there just is no other option.
Right.
Right. There really isn't, unfortunately.
And a lot of times the VA can be helpful once you get through all the red tape.
Right.
And that's the hardest part, is actually getting through the red tape.
Which anybody like Scott and I that's ever been in the military and had to fill out a military requisition form knows how much red tape is involved.
There's just not enough scissors. I'm just saying.
No. I don't think you get through it with a katana. Take a machete through there and still not get through it all.
Did you see that? My my chair went down, and so did I. As if I know already. Short. Here, there we go. I gotta look tall again.
Hey, I'm actually sitting in one of my kitchen chairs, and we have a tall kitchen table, so my feet don't touch the ground when I'm sitting here.
Mine neither.
It's one of the few chairs I can sit in where my feet don't touch the ground. What do you call it? Countertop height kitchen table.
Right now, I'm getting this thing shared out.
Yeah, I was doing that as well. So
Yeah. Normally, I'm doing this during the intro. Didn't quite get to that.
hey, it happens, man. It absolutely does.
Yeah. And the way that they make the share thing here on Facebook is terrible. It works out okay for group shares, but when you're doing the chats, it's bad.
It is.
Let's see. So before we get into the topic at hand, since you two are military veterans, tell us where you served, when you served, what branch, all that. What is your military history?
Hey, Bridget. Well, most of you know me. I'm Scott, and I was in from 1998 to 2006 in the Army. I was part of Delta Company of 1st 293rd Infantry, part of the 76th Brigade. I started out as 11 Charlie in a mortar platoon and ended up transferring over to 11 Hotel which would be 50 cals, Mark 19s, all those fun weapons. I was a grunt, basically, front line. That's what I was trained for. So,
I served aboard the USS John F. Kennedy. I was in the Navy for, let's see, 95 to 98. I was a nuclear technician. So basically, I sat in a ship and did a lot of math. It's the best way to put it. It's the easiest way to put it.
right.
But yeah, I basically ran the nuclear power plant on the ship. I had Homer Simpson's job.
Did you get the donuts?
No.
Well, then you didn't have Homer Simpson's
Oh,
job.
we
I'm
had
just
a coffee pot right there.
well, hey, that's even better because as long as you got coffee, you're good to go.
We were allowed to have two things: coffee and cigarettes.
Well,
And I
hey.
read a lot of Field and Stream.
That.
As you can see, I got my camis on.
Your cami pajamas.
No, they're not pajamas. This is an actual. I actually wear this hunting. It's
Oh,
a long sleeved camouflage shirt.
it looks thin.
It is, but it's that stay dry material.
Okay.
So it is designed to keep your body heat in.
Okay. And I'm going to bring this up here because I think this pretty much shares the sentiment of everybody.
Thank you for everything, Bridget. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
appreciate it. Thank you. Anybody that serves, I think you start. I think when you get out, I think you see that what you did was a service. But on the same hand, you don't. At least from my point of view, anyway. Like I don't take advantage of like when they have a free veterans meal or things like that. I would rather pay. It's just a personal thing that I do,
Right.
and for me, it's more. I did a duty to my country. I don't need the appreciation from it.
I mean,
They and the truth is, they paid me for my time there.
yeah. I mean, I do. I go to Applebee's. That's really probably the only place I go. I do go to like the local VFW where they serve breakfast, and I go with my brother. That is a day for me and my brother to spend time together.
Right.
Um, and I know Jeremy has a picture of me and my family, so I come from a long line of veterans. I really do.
Me
Um,
too.
so for me, that was always important. It's something we did with my dad. So yeah. So on this, you'll see my grandfather Lloyd, and then next to him is my dad, who was a buck sergeant during the Vietnam War. Next to dad is my sister Tina, who was stationed over in Germany. Then down on the left hand side is my brother Chad, who I also served with. He spent time in Kuwait and Iraq. Then there's me, the little dude with big ears. Um, Next to him is my nephew Aaron, who was also in, and then next to them is my cousin Mark, who is a Marine. So, um,
Out of that many, you had to have one crayon eater.
always you got to have at least one. So, um,
I never
so
realized
yeah,
The
so
Marine out
many of
there,
your family.
just know, it's just common for Navy and it's just common for Navy and Marines to pick on each other.
yeah. What were you saying, Jeremy?
I was saying I did not realize that so many of your family had been in the military.
Yep.
So in my family, I can trace back to the first generation of family members that immigrated here. that I had a great grandfather, maybe even one more than that. I'm not sure. Maybe four greats that served in the Civil War, and I've had a family member that has served in every U.S. conflict since the Civil War, all the way up to the modern. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Well, everybody knows that my dad served. He was in the Marine. He got to take part of the honor flight to Washington, D.C. last April. That's probably the best vacation he and I had ever taken. Um, Very fast paced day, and it was a very long day. Um, we got to the Air Force Base at quarter to 5 in the morning, and we did not fly back in until about 10 that night, 10:30. It was a long day.
Absolutely. And Bridget, I just want to say, tell your husband I said thank you for his service, because listen,
absolutely.
um, docs, but medical, we call them docs in the army. They are the reason why so many people survive war. They're out there. Not only are they providing medical aid for combat infantry soldiers or soldiers in general, um, they're also putting themselves on the front line. You know, so during combat, not only are they under fire, but they're providing medical attention that saves people's lives.
Yeah,
So he absolutely deserves the biggest thank you.
absolutely. And if anybody's listening from the United States military, and by that I mean if anybody's watching this that has any way of doing anything about it, let the Navy medics become at least a basic EMT certification. When they get out, they've earned it.
So you're saying they don't get that certification when they get out?
No, there they
And
are
so,
saving lives, and if they help somebody in a car crash, they can be prosecuted for it.
right. So sorry for your loss, Bridget. I really am.
Yes, very sorry for your loss.
Wow.
Anytime we lose, as Scott and I would say, anytime we lose a brother or sister that served, it's a tragic loss. So,
It really is.
and that's what today's topic's about.
It is. So with the VA hospital, you know, I'm not a veteran. I've never served, but I have heard so many stories from my dad. Not only from his time in boot camp, but he has also told me many frustrations that he's had with the VA hospital. I've even been with him on a couple of these trips. Normally, he goes on his own, and it's like they say that they will take care of the veterans and give them the best medical care and all of that, but I am seeing anything but.
Yeah,
Um,
it's hard. It's hard. It's very hard to get the help you
yeah,
need through the VA. But I will say one area where they have made leaps and bounds is in their treatment of mental health. So they have come a long way in that one area.
and yet I feel like there's still a long way they can still go with that.
There is. But you look at the guys that came. I don't talk about this a lot, but my grandfather came home from World War II with a severe alcoholism problem. And a lot of it was due to what back then they called shell shock. Now we call PTSD.
Mm,
Yep.
yeah,
And, you know, it's, in his 30s, I don't know if it was 33 or 36. He had a full mental breakdown. He had to be hospitalized for a while, to the point that it turned his hair stark white. He had not a brown hair on his head from the time he was in his 30s until the day he died,
Wow.
because every hair that he had was white from that. From That's how bad of a mental breakdown he had.
That actually reminds me of a guy that I went to school with. His father served in Vietnam, and he would tell me there were numerous times where he would just be taking a nap on the couch, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he would scream incoming and drop down to the floor like he's getting ready for a battle. He told me that his dad had done that so many times.
I
Um,
only saw my I only saw my dad lose it once, and we were cutting hay in a field, and we were on the hay trailer, and my dad jumped off the hay wagon, did a roll, took off running in the woods, had his arms up like this, like he was carrying something.
wow.
So, and I went to jump off the wagon and chase after him, and luckily my uncle tackled me and said, "No, let him go."
You know, and that is a huge thing. I mean, like with my dad when I was younger, um, we always had to wait when if we had to go and wake him up, we always had to wake him up by being at the bottom where his feet is, because my dad would come up swinging if you startled him. You know, just from that.
My wife
Um,
does that too.
well, she's not asleep; she just wants to hit you. But you know, and I think one thing people need to understand about me is I can give you just my experience. I am not a combat veteran. I just want to clear that up. I'm not a combat veteran. I didn't go overseas. I didn't see war. My brother did. Uh, so, but I did spend 45 days in Mississippi for Hurricane Katrina. Um, so, and being through that for the longest time, I didn't think it really affected me. Uh, but with stuff that I seen down there ended up has affected me. I do suffer PTSD from being down there. So I don't have combat PTSD.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't a combat veteran either. He did spend a lot of time overseas. Been to Hawaii, Japan, China. He's been all over. Um, he has some horror stories just from that.
Yeah.
Not even being involved in a war. He's seen his best friend at the time get killed in Japan, and that was just from a bar fight.
Yeah.
Um, when
I
he got
I
his discharge, it was right before they started sending people to Vietnam.
Yeah. I obviously never saw combat. I was in the belly of a ship. But, I still think about the stuff I had to experience over there quite a bit. I got to see some very bad third world countries, and I tell everybody I got to see a lot of the world, and that's one of the positives about being in the Navy is you're going to get to see a lot of different places, experience a lot of different cultures. With that comes good and bad. So you have to take it all in stride, I guess. As far as PTSD, I do not suffer from it, but I've known a lot of people who have. I
Mhm.
met some very, very great people in my time in. And then when my wife and I were younger, we used to host quite a bit of younger people here. Um, One of them went on to serve in the Marine Corps. He ended up doing 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, 3 in Sangin, which anybody that knows anything about Afghanistan knows Sangin was probably the second worst place over there. And I do know that every 4th of July he locks himself in a room.
Right. And that's where my battle buddy is. My battle buddy, when I got out, he actually ended up going overseas, and he does, yeah, he locks himself. He doesn't like 4th of July, and it used to be one of his favorite holidays, and he can't do it no more.
Is it
And
because
yes,
fireworks?
yeah, because of the booms.
It's because of the noise. The noise straight up reminds you of being in the middle of a firefight.
Or incoming, and yes, Bridget, my father was overprotective. Absolutely.
My,
And
my
even me as a father, I am extremely overprotective.
I was just talking to someone last night about how when my kids were little, I wouldn't let them read a book unless I read it first,
ooh,
which actually came out quite handy a few times. Because when my daughters became, I call them tweens, in between teenagers and little kids, they were wanting to read Twilight. And anybody that's ever read the last couple books of Twilight knows that gets quite a bit sexually charged there towards the end.
Yeah,
So
no, I never read that. Thanks, though.
which would explain the spin off of 50 degrees of 50 Shades of Grey.
no, that's not a spinoff of Twilight.
Well,
Not even written by the same author, Jeremy.
no, fan fiction. It's
Yeah.
off as fan fiction.
I'm just saying sometimes, but it also made me fall in love with Harry Potter. So,
That one was a great series. My dad was overprotective. Not like my mom was, but my mom was a stay at home mom. Um, but my dad, when I was little, we were living in Florida, 6, 7, 8 years old. These kids would bully me because of my hearing, and he was going to go after them.
Yeah.
These are kids. I think they were 12 at the. He was going to go after them, and
Yeah,
mom had to stop him. But that was probably the military in him more than anything else.
One of my daughters had a problem with a young boy at school. We had to go to the school and get my daughter. And they asked me flat out, they asked the police officer if I wanted to press charges. I said, you better find him before I do.
Yep. I had the
'Cause
same.
they'd have never found him.
Nope. Listen, and yeah, I think being in the military, regardless when you get out, you still have that mentality. I will protect my family to my death, and that's just the way it is. And it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, when my kids are young, no, just don't mess with my family. Don't mess with my kids. They're in my life.
It should be that way for all parents who have a military background or not.
Bridget just made an excellent comment there about her husband, and I can't imagine how that would screw with me. To be called a killer after you've done so much to help people from that nation and people that you were there to protect. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine having to. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to hold it together and walk past those people. I'll be honest with you.
Nope.
Especially not in my youth. I was too ill-tempered in my youth to be able to hold that back. Somebody, the first person that called me a baby killer would have got. right in the jaw.
Yeah.
Vietnam was probably the ugliest period of our time.
It might not show on camera, but I'm a big guy. I got a big fist.
Take, take his words, folks. It'd take me and Scott both to make one of Tim.
That is very true. And no, you're right, Jeremy. Vietnam is probably one of the worst ones. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
one war when our society was absolutely against their their soldiers
Yeah,
coming back from the war. It really was.
it was that. And I know that there were a lot of the soldiers that did not want to do what they did, but they were under orders. And the problem is, especially in that time, if you don't do what you're ordered to do, you're going to face lifetime imprisonment or even worse.
Yeah,
Hey,
because technically,
give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
on
That's not.
and insubordination in the military is not a good thing. I'm just saying. It really isn't. I mean, no matter where you're at.
Yeah. So at what point, you know, when these orders are given to you and they are the complete opposite of your morals and values,
I think, yeah. Um,
that
so
plays a lot into what kind of psychological condition you're going to be in when you get home.
it does. It really does. So like I said, I was a grunt. I was infantry. All right. My training was absolutely different from Tim's. Um, for the 8 years that I was in, I was trained to not. I wasn't trained to fight. Okay.
Okay.
I was trained to unalive somebody. Okay.
Mm.
Plain and simple. So for 8 years, it is drilled in your head. You practice maneuvers, you practice everything to how to unalive somebody. So that mentality actually sticks with you, you know. And so when I went to Mississippi for Hurricane Katrina, we were in a town called Quitman. We were staying at the National Guard Armory there, um, and there was two semi trailers. I'll put being delivered to this National Guard Armory where it was packed full of clothes and necessary things for the population there. Um,
Wow.
there, there was a Southern Baptist church that was coming to get stuff and that they needed, and the sheriff in that town decided he was going to confiscate one of these trailers so he could take it down to Waveland, Mississippi, which is on the tip of Mississippi, because they got hit extremely bad. And hi, Bubba. So
Look at that smile.
This
with
is
this,
this is my reason to keep one of the reasons I keep going. This is my grandson.
so um, this Southern Baptist church starts showing up, and it's
How you doing?
a huge group, and it's a huge group of Black Southern Baptist church people. All right. And this is where part of it messes with me. Um, Orders came down, including from the sheriff. We had our M16s, and we were told to lock and load in case there was rioting, in case they got mad for him confiscating one of these trailers. Okay. That is the hardest thing in the world. To be told you need to lock and load in case something happens. So you're telling me if something was to happen, I by orders, I'm supposed to open up on our own civilian population. And to me, I had already made the decision then that would not happen. I was not, no,
And this
unless,
is the population of the people who need help, right?
yes, yes. Now, the only way I would have is if they started coming and putting my life basically in danger. But if they're just there because they want something, no, I'm not. That wasn't happening. It's just not going to happen.
Right. And it's part of the oath we take to protect this nation against all enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Yep.
But when you're told to do something that you're so vehemently against, it does very much mess with your head.
Yeah, as a military person, I can already tell you, I would have never made it. I would have never made it because you guys know how I am. I don't care what you tell me. If I am against it, I will not do it.
Yeah.
So I never would have been able. I probably never would have made it past boot camp.
And
I think I never had a really hard order to follow. Really, I had a frightening moment where we didn't have power and another ship didn't have steering, and we were about to hit each other in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and we were all standing on deck in our skivvies.
I
That
thought
would
he was.
that would be scary. You got no place to go.
3 o'clock in the morning, Christmas morning.
Or,
I thought he was going to talk about that time you were in the shower with those Marines and dropped your soap. But okay.
Keep talking, big boy. Keep talking.
But and that is always the hardest. I mean, I remember we were in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and there was this lady who was in a wheelchair, lost her house and everything, living in a tent. She didn't have any ice, she didn't have any water, and it was a really hot day, you know. So we called, my sergeant got on the radio to find out if we could go get this lady some uh, ice, water, whatever she needed in the next town, which would have been St. Martin's. It goes up chain of command. They get back and say, no, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. You know, my sergeant looked at me because I was his driver. He says, hey, you and Hartley stay here. I'm going to go to the next town, get this stuff. I said, well, I'm going too, Sergeant. And Hartley's like, yeah, me too. He's like, no, you know what happens if we go against these orders. I said, I am going to go
No.
with you, and we are getting what everybody needs. We go to the next town, St. Martin's. We ended up with like
Did
10
everybody
bags
else
of
freeze,
ice.
or did I just freeze?
Just you, homeboy.
that'll be just you. But we're seeing you move.
So we go to St. Martin's, and we get 10 bags of ice. We got, I don't know how many cases of water. And we started handing it out to all these people, and we went against orders. But to us, morally, as not just soldiers, but as just a human being,
Yeah.
it was the right thing to do.
I don't get it. You guys are down there to help people to begin with, and yet they're telling you not to help people.
Right.
So where's the logic in that?
There really isn't. I mean, there's no logic, even though there was another guard unit close, it just, and I don't understand that because, like you said, we're down there as humanitarian services or relief to help people. But at the time, then when we got to Ocean Springs, Mississippi, we were doing a little bit humanitarian, but we were also our mission had changed to where we were basically pulling guard duty. Because that's when the bridge from Ocean Springs to Biloxi was completely destroyed. So we actually, in a sense, had to guard this bridge to make sure people weren't trying to go out and get all these pictures. Are you there?
Can you see us? Now he really is frozen.
He is.
Oh,
So-
am I froze again?
Oh,
No, you're good. You're good now. You're good.
oh, you should have been frozen one more second. I was going to get a screenshot of that.
Oh, yes. So,
That was a great shot right there. Yeah. I'll just
So-
go back in the replay and get a screenshot. Let's see.
I would.
I'm time
So-
stamped right now, 46 minutes.
Yep. So that was kind of hard. And just seeing the destruction down there just really messed with your mentality. And that's
Oh,
Did you freeze again?
that is where my yeah, you did. Look at that frustration. and that's where my
Not to interrupt you, but this is starting to remind me of the time there was a whole bunch of us on here, and he came in while he was at work, and
it was kept echoing, echo.
This is starting to remind me of that now.
Dude, if he starts doing that, I'm gonna laugh. I'm just saying.
Hey,
Like, I hope he really does.
I'm already laughing at him. I'm not
So-
laughing with him. I'm laughing at him.
Well, you've been to my house, and you know I live out in the country, so you would think my internet's worse than his, and that's not true. My internet is actually way better than his.
Not at first, it wasn't.
No, it was horrible, but now we got good internet. So
Yeah. And to think, I almost came to your house as a surprise, and I would have ended up being the one surprised because you weren't even there.
I wasn't even there. I wasn't even here.
Yeah.
But that's where my PTSD also comes from.
Yeah, so that goes to show that you don't necessarily have to see war. You don't have to see combat in order to be severely affected in some way while still enlisted.
Right.
Well,
No.
technically, you weren't even enlisted when you went to Katrina, did you?
Yeah, no, I was still in on I was activated to active duty to go down there.
Okay, but up to that point, you were out.
No, I was still in.
ain't gonna let me do it, is it? Oh, wait. You did. But I can't see them or hear them. I don't know if you guys can see me or hear me.
We can barely hear you. You sound halfway like a robot right now.
Sounds like one of those when those people have the electronic voice box for tracheotomy.
Yeah.
It's what he sounds like.
Oh man, I'm so glad I never had to worry about that one.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
Me too, brother.
I'll just play around
So,
here.
but no, and you're right. It doesn't have to
You'll hear
come.
Tim muttering, so this is where the fun part's.
Yeah. So yeah, don't just because you don't see combat doesn't mean people don't suffer. Because I do, and I never realized I would have something like that until I got back, and I seen at the time we just had a regular Walmart. We didn't have a super center, and I went up there to get something, and half the building was being torn down and rebuilt. And I got up there and I stopped in my car, and it was just all I can explain it is that 1,000-mile stare, and I still get that anytime I pass a building that's being torn down.
Stupid internet.
Anytime I see something like a building being torn down or whatever, I start getting flashbacks, and I still have nightmares about it, and that's probably one of the hardest things.
Okay, so with that, let me ask you. I almost don't want to, but I feel like I need to. Um, with that, what? How was it for you when 9/11 occurred?
That was extremely rough. Um, because that day I automatically called my readiness NCO and automatically volunteered to go to New York to help. And I was at that moment I was ready to leave and go to combat. We were already put on standby for all of that. Yes, honey. I have to let my doggy out before she pushes me down. I will be right back.
Uh, Tim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. This thing's killing me.
I I see that now.
I was trying to check the internet stuff here on my phone, so
You know, it's funny when I look on my phone for internet speed, when it comes up on my phone, is everything's okay. But yet, with my computer at that time, everything is not okay.
well, so we had this issue a couple weeks ago, and they came out and they replaced our router. They replaced like the whole setup, the modem router
Yeah,
combo thing, and ever since they replaced it, it hasn't fixed the problem.
sounds like you just made the problem worse.
I'm telling you, it's driving me absolutely insane.
So this is where I come into saying this is one of the reasons why I don't do streaming. I don't do Netflix or Paramount Plus or Disney Plus, none of that stuff. Because once the internet goes out, that goes out.
Right.
That's why I
Oh,
have my little physical media library 2 rooms over.
yeah, I know. I mean, I've got a lot of DVDs and we have plenty of games here, that's for sure. But, it's just one of those things where it just drives me nuts.
Oh, I'm sure.
I have my shows I like watching.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in the middle of a show that I have always enjoyed. This one right here
Oh, yeah, I love Brad Meltzer's Decoded. That's a great show.
puts on a great show. He puts out great books.
Yes, he does. I have several of them, read them. Um, I like to read.
Yes, I do. I like to read too.
Right. Everybody always asks me what my favorite book is. I think I have it right here. Let me double check. Oh, maybe not. She redecorated and moved it, but my favorite book's like that thick.
Dracula.
No, no, it's one of my favorites.
Oh, I still haven't read that one. I got the PDF for it, the original Dracula. I haven't read it yet.
You need to.
I need to. I had planned on reading it last year, but it just didn't happen that way.
You will like it for the way it's written, maybe not the material, but the way it's written.
I just hope it's easier to read than what Frankenstein was.
Yeah,
That one was really hard.
Dracula is easier and harder at the same time. So the way Dracula is written, it's written as a collection of stories.
Oh, now what?
So it starts off with like each chapter in that book is written from a different person's perspective.
Right. Yeah, I do like
All
that.
come together to make one focal point. That's why I said you need to read it for the way it's written and appreciate the way the author wrote it, the way Bram Stoker wrote it.
What in the world?
I didn't do it.
No, YouTube did. Hi, Max.
Yeah, there goes Max.
Hi, Things Network. It looks like the 13th Dimension, number 99, 22-hour veteran suicide awareness didn't follow our community guidelines. We removed it from YouTube. What we found, we think your content violated self-harm policy. Holy cow.
One thing I asked you to get me. Oh, you're fine. I told you to get one. You could have gotten both of my times. Sorry. I had to have somebody make a run for me.
This episode got removed from YouTube.
You don't want me to say what I'm thinking, Jeremy. Those beepity beeps.
Sorry.
I'll try to keep it clean.
Oh, you missed it, Scott. This episode has gotten removed from Facebook, from YouTube, because we think your content violated our self-harm policy.
Hi, Joanne.
This
Okay.
is a veteran suicide awareness show.
Yes, it is.
And I just want to say real quick, before we go one step further, whether you're a vet or not, if you're out there and you're struggling, my name is listed. Well, I got to get my finger lined up right here. Right there. You can find me on Facebook. Reach out.
And I need to say one more thing. Tim, you need to trim your fingernail.
We will do our best to help you get through whatever you're getting through, whatever you're going through. Scott and I have both, and Jeremy, we've all lost friends to this. Good friends. Scott and I know, have lost people we have called brothers and sisters. And we'd much rather you have somebody to talk to than take your own life.
I had a friend, I bowled with him when we were still teenagers. He was actually killed in combat. I never really talked to him after we were done bowling, but we did win a league championship together. And then 10 years later, I think it was, he was killed over there.
My buddy Toby Crawford. I miss you, brother. You know, he was my buddy. He was in my squad. He did not go overseas. He was medical. He had really massive bad migraines, so he's not able to go over due to his medication. Once the unit came back, you know, and with soldiers like that, other soldiers treat soldiers who don't go over to combat completely different. They call them just horrible names. His life at home wasn't that best, and he took his own life. So, you know, and I miss that dude every day. You know,
and the truth is, a lot of men and women who serve come back and feel like they can't talk about it. And like I said, we've been there. I've been there. Reach out. If I just have to sit there, shut up and listen to you. And she says, Bridget said, does calling and just screaming count?
yes, it does.
Yes, it does. If you need to just scream and cuss somebody out, I'm good at that. I've been married a long time. I'm good at getting screamed at and cussed out.
True that. True that. You know, soldiers that come back, they go through debriefing, but that's just not enough. It really isn't. I mean, they can only debrief you so much. Because listen, we're trained to fight for our country. Okay, that's all we're trained to do. You know, we're trained to, if somebody fires upon you, you fire back. But we're not trained on is, if you do, is how to deal with it.
Right.
You know, how it's going to affect you further down the line. So,
And how to reintegrate yourself back into normal society.
right. And a
And
lot
the
of time that's not gonna happen. It just isn't. It's too rough for people who've been at war to come back and integrate yourself back into society. That society has no idea what they went through.
right. And the truth is, we all of us, no matter who we are, have our own personal demons we have to struggle with.
Yes.
Don't ever feel like you can't talk about it. But yeah, it's hell in the middle. Look, I take a lot of crap, especially from the other direction. That guy right there, because I was in the Navy. Yeah. You know.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the man with the white earmuffs.
Yeah. I got to remember that the camera has me flipped. So this is my right hand. This is my left hand. So that guy right there. But you know what? A lot of military guys
No,
are
it
able to
looks like you're
distinguish
the way you're supposed
between
to be.
a lot of us have to deal with a lot of sarcasm and a lot of joking and teasing, and I mean, it's just the way it is. Um, but a lot of us don't know how to deal with that, and take some of it personally, and just know when he teases me about being in the Navy and dropping soap in front of Marines, I know how to handle that.
That's what we do. That's
Because I just
we
look at
do.
him and tell him you weren't smart enough to be in the Navy. Don't
That
be
is
jealous.
very true. That's right.
Don't be jealous.
We just get a dark and crude sense of humor. We really do. You know,
It's very true. I
uh,
mean, my sense of humor I would come home and tell jokes and nobody would get it,
yep,
and that's part of that assimilation back into society is, you know, people don't get where you're coming from. Don't under whether you served wartime or in the belly of a ship or on some base 500 miles from the war. People don't understand that you lived with people that were different. You lived with in situations that are 100% different than what you ever had to go through. You had to train for situations, whether you were in them or not, that, you know, I'll be honest with you. My first time in boot camp shooting at a target shaped like a person bothered me. I
I
got used to it, but it bothered me. I had never, growing up hunting and fishing and stuff like that, I was always told the business end of that gun never gets pointed toward a person.
right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Gun safety was, oh man, my dad beat that into us.
Yeah,
Listen, my
now
safety
here
is
you are doing the very opposite of what he was telling you.
yeah,
Exactly. So whether you've been in combat or not, you have feelings and emotions about aiming a gun at somebody or the possibility of aiming the gun at somebody. And it messes with you. And people don't, civilians that have never been put in that situation will never understand fully what it means or fully how you felt at that time. So, there's a lot of emotions when you get out of the military. I mean, for me, that was my job. That's what I did to make money. Now I've got to go try to find something completely different to do. I've got to try to find, here I was in charge of billions of dollars worth of equipment. And, here I am flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. So, it's even just being in a position where your time at work, how you do things. For me anyway, there wasn't like a boss standing over my shoulder telling me what to do. I walked in, relieved the person that I needed to relieve. He went and did the rest of his day.
That was me.
Okay.
Nice.
And I was there until I was relieved. And that was my station, and that's what I did, and that's how I did it. I didn't have somebody micromanaging me. Coming out and finding a job where you got a boss standing over your shoulder, Jeremy knows all too well what I'm talking about. And being micromanaged, it bothered me. It really does when you aren't in control of being able to do your job the way you do it, And everybody in the military takes orders. But I had a little bit more personal freedom in my job to kind of do things the way I do them, So having that micromanaged under the microscope.
Because where we were at is like no matter how good you do, you can do better.
Right.
And that's
I just got an email. We reviewed your awareness content and confirmed it doesn't violate our self-harm policy. We put your content back on YouTube. That's what I was doing. I was double checking to make sure that they did put it back. That's where you heard that noise.
I got you.
So far, it's not back up yet.
Come on, chop, YouTube. What you doing?
I know. So, Zach, I don't know if you can hear this, but you need to check your email for your YouTube channel because you may have gotten the same stuff I did.
And like I said, for the 8 years I was in, I wasn't trained to fight. I was trained to unalive my enemy. So you deal with a lot of emotions because that's a basic. It becomes second nature. That's what I was trained to do. So with that becomes that mentality behind it. Not just that, but there's an anger as well. And I think a lot of people in this society don't understand that because as veterans, we deal with a lot of hate. We deal with a lot of anger, and it takes years to try and calm that beast down.
And let me tell you, if you're a civilian out there and you see that old man wearing that cap and he's got a 24 pack of beer in his cart at the Walmart there, and he's got that service cap on that says where he served, just know that's how a lot of us dealt with it.
Yeah,
we got out, we drank. I still do this. That's my big stress reliever right there. It's the way we kind of trained ourselves to deal with things. Is it healthy? No, it's not.
But it's what we know.
It's not
but it's what we know.
What you guys have experienced while you were enlisted, but it's also just the normal everyday life stuff that you got to go through that's just piled on top of that.
Let me tell you, I had a very high clearance level in the military. I know things that I signed forms that said I would never speak of. I've been married to my wife for 24 years. There's stuff she does not know.
That's right, Bridget.
I signed a form that said I would never, ever speak of this. So I cannot talk about it, obviously. Like I said, I don't tell my wife for multiple reasons. One, there's things I've learned that I don't want her to know. I wouldn't wish anybody to know some of the crap I've learned.
Plus your NDA.
Right.
And you also got to think about, okay, if I do tell her, what will happen to her if anybody ever found out that she knew about it?
Well,
Right.
it's not a sense of just that. It's just a sense of them not understanding. I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, I went through this and I went through that, but you're still not going to understand. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And the part
It's,
that you don't understand is the feelings we felt when we learned it.
you know,
I'm talking about secret stuff that I wish I didn't know.
you know,
Too bad you couldn't write a book about it.
I've never told another single soul, and I never will.
I think
So,
we got to have a discussion later, Tim.
And I still won't tell you. There's stuff I learned that I don't want other people to know I had to learn.
The
and
Marines are
with all of this that you guys that well every veteran has to deal with, you come home, you try to reintegrate into society, knowing what you know and knowing what you've been through. Then on top of that, you get stuff that VA says they'll do for you, but they don't.
listen. I spent 8 years in the Army. Okay, I live fired weapons without any kind of hearing protection. Even though it's supposed to be issued, I could never get hearing protection. All right. I've been to the VA, I've done my hearing test, and I'm telling you, it's like the VA doesn't want to help us. I only have, I think my benefit is 10%, okay, which is absolutely ridiculous because they want to find everything else from my younger childhood of why I may have hearing loss. It's not the fact that I spent 8 years in the Army. It's not the fact that I was firing all these weapons without hearing aids. It's because I went and seen Bobby Beetle and band at a concert. That's their excuse. So I get angry. You know, I have a hard time hearing, and I can't even get the VA to help me get hearing aids.
Well,
So if
I understand. I understand wholeheartedly.
you
Jeremy,
know,
in the 15 years we worked together, I had 15 hearing tests, never passed a single one of them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
We know I never passed any of them.
Well, yeah. But they, you know,
I can
it's
go see the psychologist, but they're not really going to do anything for me. I'm already on medication for anxiety and depression. You know,
and I will say this, I honestly will. For anybody out there, the best thing you can do is find a trusted person that you can talk to. And it doesn't have to be a psychologist. The last thing I ever wanted was to be put on medicines. I mean, in all truth and honesty.
well,
But
the VA is supposed to help us. They're
right,
supposed to give back to us.
They're
You
supposed to
know,
help you, but there also comes a time you get older and stuff falls apart and they don't want to cover you. But the problem is the VA makes it to where you are fully covered by them and you cannot be covered by anybody else, even as a supplement.
I mean,
That's
look at me. I'm 48. Obviously, my job exposed me to high levels of radiation.
that's why you ain't got no hair. Okay,
My knees are shot. My shoulders are
we
shot. My
we know
ankles,
why those are shot. I'm just
fingers.
saying.
I mean, you can hear them crack just by me doing that. Everything hurts. Radiation didn't cause any of that.
No,
Then
I
explain
agree.
my teeth glow in the dark, but
here's what I find most frustrating. You guys know 2
Dang.
years ago, my dad had to have a pacemaker put in.
Yep.
So the day that happened, and he was in such bad shape, he could not stand on his own power. I could hardly get him up and hold him up. I was going to call 911, have the ambulance come and get him because they're trained for that stuff. He begged me not to call 911 because he did not want to get stuck with the bill. I'm thinking,
Right.
if I don't get you to a hospital, you're going to die. And it was like he would have preferred that than end up with an $800 ambulance bill.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
why wouldn't the VA cover this? It's only $800. They have billions that they were just supposedly. They have
That's the key
billions
word right there. Supposedly,
at their
Like I
that's
said,
why they,
dad does
that's why
not.
they want to take pills.
like I said, you go to the VA and these people, they're supposed to be there to help you. But too many times does it feel like that they're not helping you. They're really not.
It's
When you
almost
get
like you're becoming a burden on the VA.
not just the VA, but the government itself, because
True.
they,
But
it,
yet you signed a blank check to give to the government.
my life,
Yeah. And they are not going to repay you by making sure
they
you.
are not helping you. No, absolutely not.
This
You
is
know,
a.
I would compare it to like being a paranormal investigator. When you go into residential to do an investigation, right? Your job is to go in there and debunk things before you actually get good evidence. Well, the VA is the same way. They're going to try and debunk what is wrong with you and blame it on something else rather than the military. And that's just how I feel. Because like I was seeing a psychologist at the VA, but guess what? Even though I've talked to the guy 3 times, there is no written proof of me actually talking to the guy. So I'm only stuck at 10% of getting any kind of benefits through the VA. That is it. That's $172 a month for the 8 years that I was in the Army for. That's all I get, you know?
That
And
sounds about the same as what my dad gets.
and that is the biggest reason why people don't want to go to the VA because of stuff like that.
There are numerous stories, and my dad is one of them. He's got full dentures, and they don't fit him right anymore.
I understand that.
He goes to the VA. They won't cover it, and he was never given a reason why. So I did some research on it, and
Because it's not considered service connected.
right. And here I am thinking, okay, wait a minute. People get old. People lose their teeth. That's natural. They lose their teeth. Guess what? They're going to have a hard time being able to eat anything.
Except me.
No, you just like to use the hot gummy bears or the hot. Uh,
I should have got one for today.
I still laugh at that video that you did those years ago. Remember
But
what I'm talking about?
yep.
I
But
still.
that is the true sense is the VA makes more veterans feel like their stuff's not service connected rather than saying, yeah, it is service connected and you deserve this and you deserve that. I mean, it really takes a lot for a person that served in the military to become 100% disabled veteran. A lot. Probably more, probably harder than it is for somebody to get Social Security. And I'm not taking it. My wife gets Social Security. All right. And it would probably take me harder to get 100% from the Veterans Office than it would be for me to get Social Security. That's just my feeling.
I'm
Bridget,
sure everybody has.
Bridget just made a comment too. I think it's different state to state on the care you can get as well. I think the
I
VA is supposed to
that.
be nationally funded, but I think it has to do with state to state on certain items.
Right.
I can believe that. Yeah. But I think it's just so sad because when things start to fall apart as you get older and the VA won't cover it and they won't even offer to send you to somebody who can help you, now you're stuck there. If your dentures
Yeah.
don't fit, then you're either not going to be able to eat or you're not going to be able to eat right.
Right. Or you're going to fork out that $1,200 out of your own pocket to even get new dentures.
$1,200 that you can't afford.
Yeah. And like you said, me and Tim, when we enlisted, we wrote a blank check for our government
Yeah.
saying we'll put our life on the line for this country and for you guys. Well, now it's time for them to start putting their money where their mouth is and start taking care of veterans, because there's too many veterans that still need medical. There's still veterans out there that need mental health help. We got veterans out there being homeless.
Yes.
These are guys that we need to, men and women that we need to take care of.
I just saw a video yesterday.
No, Scott knows what that means.
Yeah, peace.
I
Later.
No, 22.
22 a day. Since 2001, over 120,000 veterans have committed suicide. 120,000.
I think Zach said is now up to 36 a day.
And that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
Is that the right number now? 36? Yep, it's 36.
36 brothers and sisters of me and Tim are taking their lives every day. That is horrible. And I could have became one of those statistics. I really could have 2 years ago.
I'm glad you're not.
You and me both, brother.
And
Yeah.
here's one of the scary things about that, Scott and Scott and Tim, that 36 a day, that's depending on how your state counts a suicide. Okay. If they don't count drinking yourself to death as a suicide, then that number lowers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, but overdoses, a lot of places will call that an accidental suicide.
Right.
And so they'll rank it as a suicide. It doesn't really matter the number. What matters the most is it's happening. And when people are they're out there and they're pouring themselves into bottles and whether the bottle is made out of glass or the plastic bottles for the pills or it's still the government did a great job of creating a beautiful name, PTSD, but that's not
Yeah.
enough.
It really isn't. I mean, as veterans, as we get out, we battle so many different demons. And I'm not taking anything else from anybody in society. We all have our own demons that we battle. But as veterans, we like myself. Like I said, I battled so many demons. I mean, Tim and Jeremy both send me blackout drunk. I have anger issues. I have a temper like no tomorrow. And these are things that I have to
And you've
work
seen me
on.
there. I mean,
Yeah, we have to
over
work
the
on it.
years, I've learned to control. My problem is I would get, when I was younger, I would get blasted drunk and then want to use these.
Or a little midget buddy jumping in the back of a truck to go after guys. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I would drink myself and become very violent.
Yeah.
To the point where I became very violent. And the minute we had children, I said, that's never going to happen in front of my kids. So I had to learn to control my own anger issues and my own.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
And I used to do it with sports. I still love to play sports. I can't do it very well anymore, but I still enjoy it. And now I take my anger out at the TV when the Colts are playing. But you know, it's one of those things where you know, I had to learn to deal with a lot of different anger issues a lot of different ways. And
Oh, absolutely, dude.
I know Scotty's seen me plenty drunk at the bar and make plenty of bad decisions in my life.
Well, I still remember the story. I think it was at a bar that you told me that you two were at when you put him up on top of the coat rack.
I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. That must have been somebody else.
He was getting a little over animated that night, so we decided to chill him out.
Yeah.
I get a lot over animated on a lot of stuff.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Sorry, I was checking.
Oh,
I said I get over animated on a lot of stuff. But
yeah.
I mean,
We all do.
Yes, we do.
You have to be a little bit of a character to do some of the stuff we do. So,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Yes, right.
when you go back and think of a lot of things that we have all been through, it's we got some stories to tell.
That's why our legacies will live on forever.
I think it will. I think it will.
But I think I have to admit, though, being in the military made me grow up. It really did.
yeah.
But
Don't get me
but
wrong. I don't
it also
regret my
taught
decision.
me. Yeah, oh, absolutely not. But it also taught me a lot on how to be more humble. It really did, especially when you see the other side of being in the military. Not just the I'm trained to do this and that. Um, you see a different humble side when uh, they take care of people, and you just see it. Like when I was in Mississippi, we had people who would cook for us, even though we're there to help them with water and this and that. They had food. I had so many people in Ocean Springs and Gulfport cook for me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I can't do this. And they're like, no, you guys are here to help us. We're going to feed you. And let me tell you what, them Southern people can make some good food. Num, 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 I'm just saying.
Oh yes, they can. Yes.
And I still didn't get fat. I'm just saying. Ha ha. I'm not fat, Zach. Ha ha.
I didn't
Skinny guy still got to eat, Zach.
go for you.
I'm saying
You have
it's
so much energy.
real loose now, but when I bought it, it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I got a thing here too. But you have so much energy, so much. You have to have very high metabolism.
I do.
I didn't. I had to learn how. I mean, Jeremy, when you first met me, I was probably heavier then than I had ever been in my life.
You were a
That's
big
because
boy. I remember that.
I
you
was
got a big
probably,
forehead.
I was I was around 305, and after 2019, I had a stroke in 2019, and I had to start doing some things differently and eating a little differently, and I'm down to 225 now, which is not far off my ideal weight for my height and my build. So, like I said, it the other thing they don't teach you to do when you get out of the military is not eat 9,000 calories a meal.
Yeah, I remember the stories you would talk about. Is that you're constantly shoving your face.
Well, I mean, they give you these huge plates of food in 15 minutes to eat it.
You got plates of food and
Well,
15
yeah,
minutes to eat?
we didn't have MREs, Scott. They
I had an MRE and like 5 minutes to eat, if that.
yeah,
But once again, that was the difference between my profession and Tim's profession.
right.
I'm a grunt. I'm on the front line. You
Okay,
know,
now I want to ask you when you say that you're a grunt. When I hear somebody say something like that, I would see that as a derogatory term.
no, because that's what we are. We are the men and women on the front line. We are the ones that will more than likely, once the Navy and all the Air Force get done what they need to do, bombing, then we go in and we take care of the ground forces. I am a grunt. I'm on the front line. I am. I'm the one that's going to encounter all the return fire from the enemy. So you can call me an infantryman. You can call me a grunt. Either one is
I'm
fine.
I'm miles away from where the action is. And in the modern Navy, the chances of losing one of our ships is pretty much zero. My life isn't in danger. You understand? His life is the one that is right there in the thick of things.
Yeah.
I'm literally sometimes hundreds of miles away. They take those aircraft off, and that's what's going out there and doing anything important.
But that still doesn't mean you're not a target.
No, and not by any means does it mean it's not a
No,
that we're
absolutely not. You
Yeah.
know, he's got over there. He's got to worry about submarines, other battleships, enemy fighters. They can be hit just as hard as an
small little
infantryman.
frog boats that pull up
Right.
beside us and blow up like the USS Cole.
Yep.
And that's what would scare me more about being in the Navy, because once you're out there, you've got nowhere else to go.
Except in the drink, and that's not always the safest place. You know, ask the USS Indianapolis.
Right. But here's, for me anyway, here's what used to scare me at night. I'm on a chunk of floating steel in the middle of the ocean, no land for thousands of miles, and it's all built by the lowest bidder.
Yep.
So, you know, that's the other thing that I had to deal with, you know, that the grunts don't necessarily have is storms. You know,
Yeah.
the storms out at sea can be quite treacherous. I've
Yeah, and
seen
there,
4 foot waves. I know what
yeah,
they
and
look.
no, you ain't no, no. I prefer land over water. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because at least on land, you have somewhere to go. You can run somewhere if you need to.
I
And in the ocean, you don't have that.
Nope.
When you see water, sky, water, sky, and everything in your immediate area is going all the way one way, all the
Yeah,
way the other
so
way.
I can't even imagine the kind of motion sickness that a lot of you guys would have had.
Me and my best friend used to, when we would get him in one of those storms, he was one of my bunk mates there. That, you know, they have three, 4 bunks high, depending on what ship you're on. One of my bunk mates there, him and I would just set up and start singing, "Don't rock the boat, baby, rock the boat."
Hey,
I mean, he
and
came to
that
do it for us.
and that's one thing about the military. We sing a lot. You know, we love music.
My
We be
favorite
driving
part,
in the Humvee.
my favorite part of the movie Stripes is when they're marching in formation, right, at boot camp, and they're singing "Do a diddy diddy dum diddy do," and they're marching to it because we actually got to do that stuff.
Yeah.
They would find a song like that to march to, and we'd march to the song.
Yep.
It's all about
But
keeping that rhythm.
it's
Yep.
called a cadence. Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's it's amazing what you guys do during those times, and the amount of discipline that you have to have in order to do what you do. Like for example, A Few Good Men, that opening sequence when you got that line of Marines and they're doing all of that fancy stuff with their guns, and not a single person out of place, and there's what, 30 of them.
Yeah. It's the repetition of training, and that is one thing the military is really good at. is the continuous training
Yeah.
to learn
Repetition,
that job.
timing.
And for me, and I don't know how it was for Tim, but when I was in the mortar platoon, and even when I went over into 11 Hotel, I knew my job, and I knew the gunner's job and my TC. But when I was in the mortar platoon, I was a squad leader, and I made sure all the guys knew my job as well. You have to know everybody's job in case somebody goes down. Next person, the next highest ranked person, takes over.
Exactly.
And it's part of the continuous training. Training.
And the military is really good at training through repetition.
Yes, they are.
It becomes motorized. It becomes muscle memory. It's literally your brain doesn't have time always to process what you're doing until you've done it. It happens that quickly.
Yeah.
And there's just times when you have to be that person. You have to be the guy in charge.
Yep.
And my job, there's no XO standing over me. There was me and one other guy in a room. We both did the same math. We checked our numbers against each other to make sure that we made the calculations we need to make correctly. If we had a difference, we picked up a phone, we called, somebody else came in, they did the math and checked our numbers and seen where we made a mistake. But
So
it was
you didn't try to find where one of you guys made the mistake. You just made the call immediately.
well, I mean, if we couldn't resolve the difference, then yeah, we tried to resolve it first.
Okay.
But there was a phone sitting right there. And when you pick up that phone, nothing good can come from it. So trust me, nothing good could come from picking up that phone.
That's why I don't like being on phones.
I only picked up that phone one time. And thankfully it was a false indicator. But we it's just one of those things where you're trained to just it just instantly clicks. You don't have to worry about the worst thing you can worry about in the military is a guy beside you. If you're worried about the guy standing beside you, that's a bad situation, no matter what the situation is. When he comes into that job, he should be fully trained on that job.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're worried about the guy standing beside you, that puts you in a bad situation.
And realistically, it's supposed to be like that in all walks of life, but it's not.
Trust me, I don't think most people could stand the drilling that we took to get to that point.
Well, not necessarily the kind of training that you guys had to go through, but just in other aspects where if somebody goes down, there's somebody that can come in and take that spot if they need to.
Yeah, I mean, it was different than it is now. I mean, I don't know about Scott, but I know I've heard the horror stories of the modern boot camp nowadays, and
Yeah.
how much different it is than when we went in.
I hear it's a whole lot easier. So
I'll tell you right now, my drill instructor had zero care about how I felt about something.
he had zero F's given.
Yes. Zero. He did not care how you wanted to do it. He did not care what you thought was right. He cared about you doing it his way, and that's the only way you're going to do it.
That's how it worked for my dad and his drill instructor. It don't matter what your opinion is. Your opinion does not exist.
No,
When you sign that piece of paper, your opinion goes right out the window.
no, you can have an opinion. He's going to give it to you, though. He's going to let
Yeah.
you know what your opinion is.
Yeah.
I didn't have a safe space when I went to basic training. I'm just saying.
No. And
But
the worst thing you can see a drill instructor do is take his hat off.
that's part of their job. Their job is to break you down mentally and physically to build you back up to be the soldier that you need to be.
I spent
It
8
really
weeks.
does.
I spent 8 weeks in boot camp, and I tell everybody you spend the first 4 weeks crying yourself to sleep. You spend the last 4 weeks laughing yourself to sleep. Once they erase the programming and reboot it, and you start understanding the programming, it becomes way easier.
Okay. And I know there's a lot of people that don't make it past that point.
No. And that's the whole point. You have to erase the programming and be reprogrammed.
Yeah, because you're going from civilian to soldier.
Right.
They're only able to do that, guys, because you join so young, right? I mean, you barely you don't look. If we only knew half of what we knew when we were 16 years old, we'd know everything, right? So at 18, when you first join, 18, 19 years old, it's easy to retrain you because you really don't know all that much.
My dad actually lied about his age when he got enlisted. He was a year younger than what he was supposed to be. Did you guys do that too?
No,
No, I was 17 out of high school, but I turned 18 in boot camp. That's the only reason why I was allowed to go in.
I was considered an old man, actually. I was 24 when I went in,
Really?
really. Uh, my oldest boy at the time, he was 2 years old, and I had no direction in my life. I was undisciplined, uh, disrespectful, and I needed extra income. And my brother said, "Hey, join the military with me," and I'm like, "Hey, okay." Oh,
And that drill
that's all it
sergeant,
took.
that drill sergeant made sure that disrespect went right out the window, didn't he?
Yeah. So at 24 years old, in July of 1998, I headed to Fort Benning, Georgia for boot camp at 24 years old.
Okay.
I was at Great Lakes, and the man that was in charge of me was a humongous former Navy SEAL. And like I said, if you had an opinion that differed from his, he'd just take his hat off. That meant you were going to fight. And if he took his hat off, you better be prepared to get your ass whooped. Because if he got to that point where he actually took it off and set it down and he wasn't in uniform anymore, there was no saying, whoa, I'm sorry, no, I back up. No. At that point, you were fighting.
Has anybody ever whooped his ass?
Nope.
Now, Scott,
Not
let me ask you a serious question. It's going to sound funny. I know Tim's going to love this one, but I do need to ask you this because of your small stature. Did you have any problems getting enlisted and them taking you seriously because of your height?
Oh, absolutely. So when I enlisted and went in to my MEPS, the minimum weight for my size, I'm 5'1", was like 102 pounds, and I weighed in at 103.
Ooh.
So when I got the basic, oh, it was on. The drill sergeants had so much fun messing with me, but I was on a very strict diet. And when I say diet, I don't mean like, oh, I need to cut pounds. No, mine was to gain the weight. So not just along with my normal food that I got, but with each one, they increased my bread intake. So I went from eating 2 pieces of bread to eating 4 to 6 with every meal. So I was eating myself, I was eating over half a loaf of bread every day.
And Jeremy, that's not always the case too. Uh, I had problems because when I went into my recruiter station and went to and said I want to join the Navy, they said, "Well, what kind of job do you want to do?" I said, "I want to fly an F-14 Tomcat. I want to fly,
I
fly
remember
fighter."
that.
And my recruiter looked at me and said, "How tall are you?" I said 6'3". He said, "You can't fly fighter jets. Sorry."
Too tall.
I was too tall. And then they tried to stick me on a submarine for a minute. And I can tell you right now, 6'3", I am 54 inches across my shoulders. That don't fit in a submarine.
So the smaller the better for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you
Plus,
ain't
the
getting me on the
recruiter made a
submarine.
mistake and told me the submariners were all volunteer duty, and I said, "You're in breach of my contract. Put me on an aircraft carrier."
Well, at least you got close to what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
somewhat.
I mean, I was on the right ship. I got to see them. I got to touch them.
But I just worried about how it was for Scott because I imagined that they kept looking, even at 24 years old, they'd be looking at, you're just a kid. You're not supposed to be here, or something like that.
No, and they did. I mean, my Joe Sargent's always made fun of me. I mean, I remember when I was down, waiting to be shipped downrange to actually start basic training. I mean, I had Joe Sargent come up to me and they're giving me a hard time. They wanted to know if my mommy knew where I was. And they said they thought they seen my picture on a milk carton, for a missing child. So, um,
Wow.
but I knew how to take that, you know what I'm saying? So, um, like I said, their job was to really build me up because of when I went in a mortar platoon, I was in 81s. So it's the medium sized mortars. And in there, you still have to hump around the system. And we did. We would practice getting air insertion. And you have to carry a part of that with your rucksack. And I remember going down to JRTC down in Fort Polk, Louisiana. And here I am at about 117 pounds, and my ruck was weighing 171 pounds. And that is something I had to carry. There was no choice.
They actually got you up that much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in basic, I actually weighed 123 pounds. And I know a lot of people are like, that's not that much. But when you go from 102 to 123 solid muscle, that's actually pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
Well,
I
123 pounds on a 5'1" frame. That's pretty good. Pretty good
Right.
weight on a 5'1" frame.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
went
Scott, you just mentioned it. It wasn't. They weren't out there being deliberately mean to be mean. They were
Right.
doing it because they needed you to be able to handle it, right?
upon
Absolutely.
upon my graduation, my drill instructor came to me and said, "I want to tell you, the harder we are on you, the better soldier you're going to be." He said, "I was hard on you because you were this big framed guy. I was hard on you because if you can take what I dish out, you can take what anybody dishes out."
That's more
So
or less how it is.
And
yeah,
and vice
so
versa.
that I actually thanked him because that mental preparedness pushes you the rest of the way. And once you understand, and that I think that's a reason a lot of people have a problem with boot camp and don't understand. I mean, go anybody that's ever watched the first half of Full Metal Jacket. I mean, when Scott and I went in, it was still like that. You know, first day. How tall are you? How tall are you, sailor? 6'3". I didn't know they could stack shit that high. You know, they're right in your face. They're screaming at you. But once you realize in your head that if you can take that abuse, nothing anybody ever says the rest of your life is going to bother you.
Yeah. And for me, they had to be rough on me. They had to make me tougher because I'm smaller than everybody else.
Right.
But I'm required to do the same job as those guys. So my effort is going to have to match their effort. So they may be giving 100%. I'm going to have to give 110 or 120% to get where they are.
In
During hand,
your case, I think it actually worked out better because with somebody your size, you might be able to get into places that normal sized people can't.
yeah, and that's everyday life for me. When we did hand to
Scott
hand
didn't have
combat,
to, Scott didn't have to dig a foxhole as deep as everybody else.
no, that is very true. When we did hand to hand combat, they said, "Okay, everybody pair up," and I stood there. And Joe Sergeant Ehlers, who absolutely remember, asked me why I was just standing there. I said, "Drill Sergeant, if I'm on the battlefield, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to fight against somebody my size. I want the biggest guy out here." And I got him. And I'll have to send you guys a picture. It's me and Zane Widener, who was also in my platoon. And this guy was as big as Tim. And I did hand-to-hand combat with him. And I was hip tossing him and shoulder throwing him. Because in war, it doesn't matter your size.
No. All that matters is who's left standing at the end.
Absolutely.
Zach, I know we're coming up close to the 2 hour thing. What if you would when we play the outro for this thing, leave everybody off for 5 seconds before you come back on. That way, I have a spot where I can cut and put
Yeah.
our particular spot on the show on Spotify.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. Let me ask you both something that is one of the real questions on why I started this show. What do we need to do as a civilian sect of the society to help you guys better the service you get in the VA? What can we do as civilians to maybe light that fire that needs to be lit by people to do something about the VA?
I would say listen. Don't try to understand it. Just listen. If you try to understand it, you're gonna close us off more than open us up.
Yeah, you know, definitely. And push to get help. Push them to get help. It
Yeah.
took years for me to even try to go to the VA. And I may talk ill of it, but too many soldiers are afraid to open up, you know. And if you're a friend, a spouse, a brother, a sister, a mother, a father of a veteran, and you know they're struggling, you've got to do your best to try and get them help, even if it's not at the VA, wherever. Do your best to get them help because, like I said, veterans fight different demons, and our demons that we battle, you may not understand, and you won't understand.
No.
We won't. We don't understand. It's just something we're dealing with, and we don't know how. So you have to push them to get that help,
Yeah.
and don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't say, look, he's just a lost cause. He's not. Don't like I said, you'll never understand why we drink. You'll never understand why we smoke. You'll never understand why we do the things we do because you didn't live it. So cast your judgment aside because that's the part that shuts most of us down.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for joining us and speaking up and and bringing to light some of the problems that veterans do have. We are doing what we can do to make sure that people understand why when a veteran says, hey, you know what, screw the VA, or we want them to understand why that's being said. The healthcare system in the United States is a joke right now as it is.
Yes, it
So
is.
anything, and when you have something as that, I think it's ridiculous that we don't spend the money on our heroes. I think that that's where the money should go. Is we've got a country because of gentlemen like you, ladies that you were with. You're the reason why we're able to do this, and for that money not to go to you, it's ridiculous. But I want
You
to
know,
thank you all for speaking on this, and Jeremy, I want to thank you for hosting.
thank you guys, and thank you so much, Zach, for what you do every year. This means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Tim. You know,
Absolutely.
and it's great to have people out there who uh, get more involved and want to help veterans, because it does mean a lot. It really does, because we
It
do
does.
struggle.
It does.
You
And
know,
not only that, but um, if we can help somebody not pull
become a
that trigger,
statistic.
you become one of the numbers of the statistics. If we cannot, I mean, we can't say if we could never lose another brother, because we all going to lose.
Yeah.
And we always had a saying, well, old sailors never die. We just go to hell and regroup. but and it's the way it is. But if we can help them, if we can help a kid see his father or mother longer, if we can help a mother or father see their child longer, then this is a couple hours of my time is more than worth that. And once
Absolutely.
again, okay, yeah, my name's right here. His name's right there. If you need somebody to talk to and you don't know how to do it, we got you 6.
Yes, we do.
Well, and again, that's what it's all about. We're trying to find the solutions that everybody can feel comfortable with something. Because where I may not be comfortable in a kumbaya circle, psilocybin might work for me. Who knows?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know, where psilocybin may not work for me, talk therapy could. But the one thing that I do want to let you both know that I've said throughout this whole thing, anybody who says that they understand what you're going through, look, that just pisses me off anyway. Whenever anybody says, "Oh, I know exactly what you feel like," oh, you are exactly a moron, because no, you don't. Look, there's only one me. I feel my way. There's no way we could understand exactly what you feel like. And it's ignorant and irresponsible of anybody to say we do. So thank you, gentlemen. Jeremy, if you want to hit your outro, uh, we're going to be right back with a really good friend of mine from the Veterans Ranch, J.R. Smith.
Thank you, guys.
And
thank
Thank
you.
you, brother.
and with that, for everybody out there in the audience that stuck it out with us for the last couple of hours and for the last several hours with Zach, thank you so much for playing along. And in terms of the 13th dimension, we will be back on March the 7th. Myself, Scott, Tim, along with Tim's wife, Crystal, and Nick Relay. And we are just going to have one big party. So until then, what is it, 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks from now. Woo, we got a lot to do. 2 weeks from now. Thank you guys so much. And we'll check in with you guys later. Zach,
Yep.
seeing you again.
Don't go anywhere. We've got a lot more to come.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.
let me try this again with volume, because I know how much everybody wants to hear me, but we are back, and we're going to be right back with J.R. Smith. And we are now back. We have with us one of my really, really good friends. You've seen him before. If you've ever been on this channel with me, in which I know many of you have, he is the co founder of the Veterans Ranch. And I'm going to take it that you probably know the other Smith that's on the line that got up to walk away.
Yeah, he forgot something, and he's coming right back right now. So there he is.
All right. And so also with us is Mike Smith. JR, you want to do a proper introduction, please?
Absolutely. Well, I go by JR for a reason. I am Mike Smith Jr. Dad and I have been self-employed together north of 20 plus years at least, and Mike and Michael lasted 5 minutes. So here's Mike Smith Sr., one of the other co-founders. The wife is busy today, Pam Smith, my wife, but Dad, U.S. Navy Vietnam veteran, 69 to 73, in country 69, 70. I'll let him share his story on that. But we were all sitting around a desk one day in 2017 trying to figure out what better to do for veterans other than deny till you die. Here's another pill at the VA, and it's just started year 8. Here we are, today, kicking butt and taking names.
Mr. Smith, I love the way that JR gives you the credit, because you told him to keep a notebook beside your bed.
Yeah, it was one of the rules of the road, Zach. I always firmly believe that a short pencil is better than a long memory. So, when you get an idea, it's a good idea to write it down at that point in time, so that when you do come back to it, at least you've got some cliff notes that you can kind of move forward from.
I don't think I've ever heard that saying, but I definitely know I'm going to start using it. I'm, as you know, and I I get to blame everybody, or I get to blame my short memory on the motorcycle accident. But the truth is, I wasn't that smart to begin with, so I didn't have much of a memory to start with. But I want to welcome you personally and thank you so much for your service. I know we have talked quite a bit about what you've had to do in the service and some of the hard things that you went through. Can you we've heard the stories, but I'd like to hear it from you. Can you talk a little bit about what you did and some of the harder things that you had to do while you were in the service?
Well, keep in mind, Zach, I was a 19-year-old kid, so I don't know what hard was back then, but I guess realistically, from the time I was 12 years old until I graduated from high school in 1967, the comment every day in the news was the Vietnam War, the casualty count and, how many enemies we killed and what was going on over there. So it was just a question of time that I knew that, I was going to end up going. And ironically, I had an appendicitis attack my second year in college, and I had to drop 2 courses. And within 1 week, I was classified 1A. So it came down to choice versus chance at that point in time. And a buddy of mine, Mike McCormick, and I went down to see a Navy recruiter, and that's how we ended up getting in the Navy. And the funny part is we joined under the UDT SEAL program. And, at that point in time, my brother had gone in 6 months before me. He went to Great Lakes, and we were up there, I think it was in November when he graduated from boot camp. It was colder than a bee's knee. And so I looked at this recruiter, and I didn't have a clue, what we were getting into. But I just said, let me ask you something. Where do these guys do their training? And he said, sunny California, son. And I said, sign us up. So that's how we got there. Went through boot and buds in San Diego and Coronado. And then I was actually sent to a new ship that was being commissioned, USS Mobile, LKA 115 up in Newport News, Virginia. And so I was part of the nucleus crew. We commissioned the ship in September 1969, and in October I was in Vietnam. And I was actually assigned to an amphibious assault group. So we were running Marines upriver out of Da Nang. That's what I did when I was over there. And a lot of things happened in that time frame that you don't hear about in the news. Nobody writes about. Nobody realizes. With the intervention of countries like China and Russia, who all was involved in that war. But didn't talk about it much. Still don't really talk about it much. And JR convinced me to get this hat about 8 years ago. But it was one of those things where when I did come back, they flew me into San Francisco International. Harry Krishnas were spitting on me, calling me baby killer. And, it was just one of those times where, you didn't give it much thought. In fact, when I got back to St. Louis after I came home from Vietnam, no bands, no, marching bands, nobody there to greet me. In fact, I think I shared this with Jared one time. I ended up taking a taxi cab from Lambert Airport to my house. Nobody was there. And, so I unpacked my stuff and fell asleep, and I was down for about 2 days. But, that's just the way it was. When I finally got out, January 26, 1973, which was actually the day that Kissinger signed the Paris peace agreement, which I always thought was pure irony. Came home. I was married at that point in time. JR had just been born December the 29th of 1972. And I got a job, went to work, and put all of that behind me. And up until, probably, 8, 9 years ago, I never even filed anything with the VA for problems that I had, because it was just one of those things where it was over with. I did my duty. I served my country, and it was time to kind of put all that behind me. And, at that point in time, nobody was, doing parades and welcoming you home and thanking you for your service and all the things you hear now. And I don't want this to sound wrong, Zach, but, some of that kind of becomes cliche. And, I think it was probably, 4 or 5 years ago, JR and I were at a car show, and I had my hat on, and guy came up to me and he said, welcome home. And I just broke down. I mean, nobody had ever said that to me before. So it's just, when we decided to do something with the Veterans Ranch, the goal was really to work on the inside of the veteran, not the outside. And I mean that with all due respect, because you see so many organizations out there today that, they got to show you, prosthetics, and they got to show you casualties, and they got to show you damage to an individual. But what hardly anyone realizes in the civilian world is the actual casualties that are going on between the 2 years of a veteran that has served and been in a combat situation or has had a traumatic occurrence occur to them while they were in that they've had to carry. And, I don't go to the VA. I did that a couple of times. Last time I went to the VA, a guy looked at me and he said, so have you been sexually molested lately? That was the kind of questions they ask. And I looked at him and I said, no, not yet, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time. And that was my response, because I thought, if you're going to ask those kind of questions, you're not getting into my head, and I'm not going to relay anything to you that is significance for you to write down on your report, because every time you go see those guys and you tell them something, they write it down. And I mean, it's almost like, hey, this is a part of your record now. We show that you did this, or you said that, or you acted in this way, or, whatever. And so we just feel that the time has come with the Veterans Ranch to actually work on the inside of the veteran. And as I always share with JR, help them lay down their heavy coats of burden and move forward, kind of put all that behind. And we've seen that. We've seen with the horses, with the individuals, the bonding that takes place between them during the periods of time that we put them together is a little short of miraculous. And it really puts a veteran into a position where they let the guard down. And, personally, I don't know if you served, but, in what we did, we didn't talk about. I still don't talk about it much. I kind of always liked Chuck Yeager, the test pilot from The Right Stuff. In his book, he says, let me share with you what war is. War is like going to the dentist. You don't remember the pain, but you sure as hell know why you don't want to go back. And, it's easy to convince, I guess, 18, 19-year-old kids at that point in time that, you're doing the right thing, not to misquote, him. But that being said, I did 4 years. When I came back from Vietnam, I actually I got orders to go to a different command. So Vietnam was over for me. I spent the last 18 months on a submarine tender, the USS Dixon, ported in San Diego. My wife and I had a little small studio apartment outside of San Diego State. And so it was just, doing the rest of my time so that I could salute the ensign and depart and come home. So that's pretty much my story. My dad was in World War II. He actually was going over on a transport ship when the war ended. So he kind of was in the cleanup section of that. He met my mom in Austria. She had actually been to German concentration camps during the war. She was in Ravensbrück, which was a labor camp, and she was in Mauthausen, which was a death camp. And so they met after the war and, got married, got her to the States, and the rest is history. I actually have a brother that was born a year before me. I was born on his birthday a year later, so I was his first birthday present. But he's in St. Louis still, and we stay in touch. But other than that, I don't really talk to a lot of my buddies that I was in the military with. I do have one close friend that's in Colorado that is probably one of my best friends that I had when I was in the service, and I do stay in touch with him. But we want to take our mission and we want to make it a U.S. worldwide mission to get the word out to everyone out there that it doesn't have to be a situation where you need a house built or you need a wheelchair. There's a lot to be said for equine therapy in terms of what we're doing right now. And just, be able to get a lot of that stuff that you've been carrying around for a long time out of your head. Most people in the real world have probably had experiences with PTSD. They may not know what that is, or they may not understand why that's happening to them. But after I left my first command and I came back and actually went to see my buddies on my ship about a year later, I found out that the kid that replaced me was killed two weeks after I left. And so, that was a situation where, they call it survivor's guilt. I don't know what the best term is to put on it, but it's one of the things that I carry, still to this day. And, I think about that in terms of, the old saying, by the grace of God, therefore go I. So it's an honor to have served. It's certainly an honor with what JR has put together. And I have to tell you, it's been a remarkable almost 8 years right now that we've been doing this in terms of his persistence and his commitment to putting all of this together. I just, they say the greatest legacy in the world that you leave in this world are your kids. And between JR and our daughter, Kelly, I couldn't agree more with that. It's just, I've been so proud of him and our family in terms of what he's been able to put together. And doors are opening now. Things are changing. We're starting to see some progress finally in terms of moving forward and being able to put this together with some things. And I won't steal his thunder. If he wants to share that on the podcast today, he can do that. But it's just, it's been remarkable. Let me just say that to you. The interesting thing about momentum is, it's kind of like a locomotive. When it starts to go, the steam gets it going, but it doesn't really go anyplace, and it's not moving very fast. And when all of that kicks in and it starts to actually take hold, it's hold on to the tiger's tail, because it just takes off like you never thought it would in a million years. So anyway, that's my story. Appreciate you allowing me to share that. And I just want to put a shout out to all of the veterans out there that have served, that have, given the oath to honor, and make a commitment to our Constitution, protect our country. And for those that, are with us, a big ooh-ah. And for those that aren't with us, Godspeed and rest in peace. Thank you.
I'm kind of speechless, which is a bad thing to be when you've got 22 hours of talking to do. But what is it that you feel, Mike, and just to let people know and maybe understand a little bit, when you get near a horse, when you're having a down day, maybe when you're having a little bit of that survivor's guilt, what happens to you personally when you get near that horse?
Well, I think animals in general, Zach, really have a sense about them to where they can see things or feel things in a human being that we don't realize. Whether it be a cat or a dog, but with a horse especially, there's this trust issue that, the horse has. And, they want to make sure when they're dealing with someone that they can trust them and that they're not going to harm them, or they're not going to do anything to, cause them any distress. And so once you build that bond with that horse, it's absolutely amazing what takes place. And in some cases, it may happen immediately. In most cases, it doesn't. It takes some time. But once that's established, it's remarkable. And, you kind of have to go back to, I always call it the cowboy days, when I grew up in the Westerns that we watched on television. But there always seemed to be a special thing about a person and their horse. That always kind of came through to me in those programs, even more so than you would see with other people that, they might be dealing with. So there's something to be said for that. I don't understand the science behind it or the psychology, but I do know that you can melt away a lot of issues and a lot of problems in a short period of time when you have that kind of bond with a horse.
I know that we got 5 dogs in our house, and it looks like Jr. has moved into small orange hairy ponies or something, or was that a cat?
Yeah,
It,
that
it
was a
looked
that was a that was a cat running around here.
it looked a little bit bigger than a cat, but I thought
Yeah.
maybe, hey, you were getting into miniature horses with a lot of hair. I don't know.
No,
So
we've had a lot of transition within the last year.
yeah,
Normally you'll see us coming to you live from horse stalls or what have you. We're in our horse trailer right now. Zach, we were on your show a couple of times, over the last year with our new horses that we had while we were in Texas and everything else. We came back to Florida. The plan was pack everything up. Our lease, we got back in January of last year and pack everything up. The lease was up in April, and boom, we're going back out to Texas. Well, things get in the way, right? They say you want to hear God laugh, tell them your plan.
yeah.
And Pam's mom got sick, and she ended up passing, and then her dad basically passed of a broken heart in November. And so we lost both of them, 2 trips to Kentucky to bury them. And so we are literally living out of our horse trailer. Straight back, backwards camera. Straight back that way is where the 4 horses normally go. That's where all our stuff to survive and live is right now. Our horses are in Texas, just waiting for us to show back up. So I say that not to, try and, brag about what we're doing. It's do what you got to do till you can do what you want to do. You got a roof over your head. You're not living in a cardboard box. So for anybody out there that might be thinking, their life sucks. Dad mentioned one thing, and Zach, you've heard me mention this before. His mother was in 2 concentration camps, and I share the story from time to time. And I say, just when you think your life sucks, your mom didn't turn you into the Germans. Because that's how that went down. Her and her mom didn't really get along real well, and when they were hiding people out, and mom didn't like it. And when the Germans came a knocking, boy, mom was like, blah, and just told them where everybody was. So, when you think your life sucks, your mom didn't turn you into the Germans. That's our Chief Technology Officer, U.S. Army veteran Kyle Wentworth coming in right now. I appreciate him coming in because he's worse than me. Most of this week, I've been dealing with 102 fever. Like the day you and I talked, I sounded great, and I have felt like twice baked ass ever since.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Kyle, we've got you on screen whenever you can come in. All right. But
I'm here.
welcome. Yes, yeah, welcome,
Checking out
Kyle.
what's going
Welcome to
on
the
with this
show.
camera. Oh, here we go. Give that.
There you are.
Good morning.
So, yeah, you look like you're in a studio or a garage, one of the two.
Yeah, it's the music and IT studio.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome, Kyle. Welcome to Mission for Healthy Heroes. I appreciate it. Hey, before we get to Kyle, real quick, I do want to bring attention to the QR code in JR's Magical Square. That QR code is so if you shop with any of our community pay it forward partners using that code, those partners are going to give us a community pay it forward a referral. We're not going to keep that money. We're going to keep some of it. I mean, come on. I like to eat. I'm a fat guy. Let's be honest here. I need food. But we're going to give 75% of whatever they give us to J.R. Smith and the Veterans Ranch so they can continue going. Hopefully we can get him out of a horse trailer here pretty soon. But this is a very simple process. It's called Shop, Click, and Pick. You shop with our partners, click a picture of the receipt, and connect it. Pick the cause that you want to work with, like J.R. Smith and the Veterans Ranch. Kyle, tell us a little bit about you, would you?
Well, not really much to tell. Actually, there's quite a bit to tell. I think 48 years in the IT space. I'm the youngest member of the largest military family recorded in the United States. One of 13 siblings, and 8 of us were active duty. Dad was World War II, Korean War. Um, Served 20 years in the military. The uh, the family joke for all those Air Force guys out there, I apologize, but the family joke is that 2 of us were in the military and the rest were in the Air Force. Um, but y'all get it. Yeah, we have long time background in the military. Grew up uh, in a military drive family. Um, Married, 4 kids, live in Texas.
What is TVR?
The Veterans Ranch.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that was I was thinking that was that TV thing that you had an association with some for some reason.
No,
So
yeah, it's the Veterans Ranch.
but what is your duty? What is your story
My
with the veterans?
Yeah. So JR and I met about 3 years ago. Um, Associated with a veteran organization here in Texas, and kind of hit it off pretty quickly. Um, Very commonly with business executives, I noticed that there's a need for somebody who interprets technology. So I offered up my services to the Veterans Ranch to help out in that regard. And I sit on the board of directors as uh, the CTO of the Veterans Ranch, Chief Technical Officer.
Wow. Well, I for one am thrilled to see that you guys are together. And I do agree with you. JR is kind of an easy guy to get to like. It didn't take us long before and then of course we start talking about hockey, and oh, good God, there it goes. So, but JR and I really hit it off quite well. JR stuck around with me for what was it, 23 of the
Yeah,
or
it
21 of
was
the
it was like
22 hours.
21. It was like 21 and a half of the 22 hours. I could not drink any more coffee or Mountain Dew. I was toast.
Yeah, yeah. And hey, look, my horse is here.
Yeah.
So this is Mike. You were talking about the animals. This is one of mine. This is Zephyr. She one of the 5 dogs we have here that just I adore them. I agree with you. They feel when you know they feel you. I think they feel you sometimes better than you feel you. You guys disagree with that?
Dogs are extremely important in our lives. Extremely important. I have a beagle that's a service dog. He's been with me for almost 8 years now, and literally goes with me everywhere. Um, and if I don't take him, I come home and there's stuff out of the trash can thrown on the floor right next to the trash can, just as a almost like flipping you off, like you didn't take me, I'm going to empty your trash can.
I have a big white dog named Ghost. That is him. There will be something that I like that is tore up and probably half eaten, just because he's that way. Yeah, this dog will eat. Look, he is as close to a goat as we can get. This dog will eat aluminum cans. He doesn't give a damn. He's like, you know what? I'm going to chew it, and you're going to lose it. So just get ready for it. You want to leave me home alone? Ha ha. But JR, you got some exciting news with the racing team.
Yes, sir. Really do. Before we get to that, your
Yeah.
previous guests were talking about, different ways to heal, and I was listening to a lot of that, and Dad really eloquently put it about healing the inside instead of the outside.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine who is a Navy veteran lives over in Tampa. He's in the beer business, as he says it, and he just wrote a book, sent me a copy. I'm about a third of the way through it, but it's called He's Got Your Six, Healing Through Biblical Principles. Okay. His name's John Galante. Okay. You can see that there. There we go. He sent me a copy of this. This is absolutely awesome. He talks about his journey about how if it wasn't for finding his faith, his healing wouldn't be anywhere near what it is today. And so I really wanted to give him a plug. He's a good guy, great guy, and he actually works for a different liquor company now, and we're going to put some stuff together with that, but that's down the road. So you can go to Amazon. He's got your 6 Healing Through Biblical Principles. I really recommend getting it. It's a great book. Help you with your squash between your 2 ears. The race team, man, I tell you what, we have been working on this for a year. These folks reached out to us Memorial Day, 30 days before Memorial Day weekend last year, and wanted to see if we could get on the hood for one of their cars they had. They're a very patriotic family and everything else. And Kyle knows, Dad knows, man, I burned up every phone, email, every contact I could trying to make it happen. But it was just too short a window. And I said, let's stay in touch. So as things progressed throughout the year, we'd touch base here and there. I'd watch him racing. He's in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So you've got the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Truck, and then ARCA. So that's kind of the hierarchy of things. But we started talking towards the end of the year, first part of 2025, and we've put together an amazing thing right now, where we're going to be either on the hood or a major associate sponsor for a total of 6 races throughout the year. Just last weekend, we were in Daytona. Hadn't been back there in probably 5 years. And man, I tell you what, you walk through our part, we were walking through the tunnel, and it stands the hair up on the back of your neck every time. If you're a race fan, going to Daytona is something special. And it was the United Rentals 300, and we were on the hood. I know, Zach, you got the pictures of the car. You got us standing next to the car. Had some electrical issues towards the end of the race, that put them out, but had a great time, got a lot of great coverage. And so we're going to be, they're in Atlanta this weekend. Next weekend, we're going to be the first Texas race at COTA, COTA. It stands for Circuit of the Americas. It's a big road course race down near Austin. We're going to be in Daytona a second time, St. Louis, Charlotte, and the North Texas race. They call it the Dallas race. It's actually closer to Fort Worth. It's Texas Motor Speedway north of Fort Worth. So, you can see us on there. You'll see the veteransranch.org all over the car and be able to go to the website and find out more about who we are. Folks, if you have a business out there and you'd like to co-brand with us, we have an opportunity for 5 more, maybe 6 more races. I talked to him the other day before I just, you have no idea how much I'm cowboying up right now to be here, because I made this commitment and this promise, and it's important to, help these, get these veterans in everybody's minds right. So we're here, but there might be one more race that we can throw in on that as well. So if you want to literally get your business in front of millions on the CW network, that is the exclusive partner of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Just give me an example. In Daytona last week, according to Nielsen ratings, 1.8 million people watched that race. There was probably, they sold everything out for the whole weekend. So between the infield, the stands, and everything else, I think there was 50,000 people in attendance. Somewhere around there. And that's just that's for each race each day. Cause you'll have the truck race on Thursday on Friday, and Xfinity on Saturday, and the Cup race on Sunday. So, you can get your business in front of more eyes for less money than you could spend anywhere else. I mean, nationwide TV commercials, a 30-second spot will run you $100,000, and you have no idea how many eyes are going to hit that. With DVR these days, fast forwarding through commercials, or streaming services where you pay not to see commercials, TV isn't quite what it used to be in terms of getting your business in front of a lot of eyes. You will also get our social media, the team's social media, which bleeds into NASCAR social media, because they have to let NASCAR know who their sponsors are. So there's other millions of eyes. seeing it. So, we're really proud to be partnered up with Garrett Smithley. That's our driver, SS Greenlight Racing, BRK Racing, and a whole lot of other great. We actually partnered up with another veteran nonprofit that I want to give a plug to while we were there. It's called Hire Heroes USA. You can look them up. If you can't tell with our organization, it's not about who gets the credit. It's about saving lives. Rising tides raise all boats. HireHeroesUSA.org. And what they do, what they're going to be doing with us on the properties that we're going to have in Texas, and I'll cover that in a minute. One of the things we're going to be doing is helping veterans with job training skills, 21st century resumes. We're all of the age that we would hand a resume to a hiring manager, right? And they'd read it. Maybe they wouldn't read it, ask us some questions and hire us or not. Well, now your resume is all electronic. It's got to hit keywords and algorithms and all kinds of other goofy stuff just to even get noticed. And so we're going to help you with that. And we're going to help you with a good LinkedIn page. One of our board members just retired as a 32-year colonel from the Army. LinkedIn wasn't squat when he went in, and he had no idea what it's become when he got out.
Right.
So we had to help him get a better LinkedIn page. So Hire Heroes USA is going to have an office on our properties. And so when they get to that point of needing that training, they're going to be working with us to help them get to that next level.
Well, that's look again. I am just thrilled to hear that you are progressing as you are. I mean, I know that you and your wife, your dad, and all of your team, your board, from moment one, you guys, you came up with a plan. You saw a way to help, and you went with it. You're pushing on, and you know what? You're right. It's not easy. None of this stuff is ever easy. I mean, I do like your comment about the if you have a plan, tell God that you got a plan and see what happens. Yeah, you're right. That's very that's frustrating, but I love to see that you're really doing well. Where are you at with the horses right now? What's your status there?
Real quick, can we throw up a picture of the car? I just want to show that off.
You know what, man? I'm having trouble finding that.
All right, if you find it, we'll throw it up. So here's the progression. Right now, we have 3 horses. We had 3. We lost one. It colicked real bad, and Lord knows we did. Yeah, we did everything to save it.
Days after we showed him on TV on the computer. Yep,
that's right. And so we have. We keep growing our network, okay? And this is the good Lord and a horse, because I've come up with some humdinger ideas. I had a lot of legal pads go nowhere from the time I was about 14 to my mid to late 40s. And I'm telling you, all the people I've been introduced to has just been mind-blowing. We had some folks up in Michigan who actually are both veterans, and they run a horse rescue. They're part of a nationwide, certified network, right? Rescuing horses from kill pens, trying to save them and rehab them out and things like that. They turned us on to, before I talk about that, again, sharing information. They wanted to start adding veterans to a therapy program that they were starting. And my wife and I sat down with him on the phone for probably 3 different times, a couple hours a piece, sharing the information. They turned us on to a lady who's a veteran, who is part of the same rescue network as they are in Texas, Hooker Equine Ranch. Now that really sounds like a funny name. She actually worked on and flew in Chinooks. Okay, you'd always see them in the Vietnam movies, right? The really big, kind of ugly helicopters with the 2 props on top of them, right? Well, that's a nickname for that helicopter, or hookers, because you could literally hook anything with them and fly it out somewhere. So that's where she came up with that. We adopted a gorgeous 6-year-old Arabian paint horse from them, who was a surrender. The lady that owned her had Alzheimer's, and Dakota was getting fed. Dakota wasn't getting fed. And so they surrendered her. They got her in good shape, and now we've got her. We have another veteran in California. Tip of the hat to Jim. He had a Navy veteran. He had a little bit of a heart scare, and so it's time to downsize a little bit. He breeds quarter horses. And once we get things a little bit more established in Texas, he's going to bring out 3 quarter horses. So long story to get around to that, we're going to have 6 right off the bat. That being said, you throw a rock in Texas, you hit a horse. Okay. So we have numerous connections where we're going to have at least 20 to 30 horses on each property. So what does each property mean? Well, we have a very large grant that is coming our way. It should land very soon. And what it's going to allow us to do is put a minimum of 5 properties across the state of Texas doing what we do. Okay. The first couple are going to be in North Texas. Okay. North Texas, meaning the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. First one's 116 and change acres. It's got 47 stalls on it. You name it, it's got it. Okay. So there easily, we've got 30 horses going on the property. We're going to be offering trail rides and riding lessons that anybody can come pay and do. Helps bring revenue into the ranch while you're writing grants. We all know grants. You know, I just filled in some information last night on a Texas Veterans Commission grant that I filed for back in November of last year. Just found out we got to the second stage, right? And then now we won't find out if we get it all the way until November. So look for the one that's number 14. That was the one we were on at the NASCAR Clash. Carl Long and Garage 66 Racing, absolutely awesome car. That was the full wrap car. That's in the Cup Series. If you can find the one for number 14, that's the Xfinity Series car. So trail rides, riding lessons. We've partnered up with another veteran nonprofit that's going to show us, how to grow your own food with hydroponics and aquaponics.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to hire veterans. Our hiring process, by the way, is 70% minimum of the community we're serving. So that has grown into the entire military community, okay, active duty, veteran, and immediate household family, Gold Star families that get left behind like there's no tomorrow, as well as first responders in their immediate household family. So that's going to be a lot of folks that we're going to need to hire. The biggest thing that's going to happen on the property is there's going to be a minimum of 20 to 40 cabins on almost every property. It depends on the size, but minimum 20, as high as 40, where honestly you can come pay and stay and play city slicker, want to be cowboy for a week, right? Or 4 veterans want to get together for a reunion. And this is why we're looking at Texas. I mean, 1, God bless Texas. Why not? And 2, it's the center of the country. It's a lot easier to get to Texas from a lot of places than it is get all the way down to Florida. So you can do that, but there's always going to be a select amount of cabins left open for a very select process where a veteran and their immediate household family can stay on property for up to a year on our nickel to get back on their feet. Okay. Get those job training skills from Hire Heroes USA, work our program. They're not just getting 3 hots in a cot. It's not Club Med with horses. Okay. They're going to be mucking stalls and doing everything we do every single day. Show them how to manage money again. And, the whole 9 yards, get their benefits squared away. Dad and all your prior guests could tell you, just horror stories about, the VA. Kyle's in a situation right now where he's at 90%. And he's got certified PTSD from a doctor that they sent him to, but then they sent him to another doctor and they said, oh no, you don't have PTSD. And he's fighting for his last 10%. So, there's lots of things our veterans are struggling with, and we want to help with all of that. And that's just property 1. We're going to have a special events division. That's property number 2. Weddings, corporate events, you name it, right? If you want to pay to have a party, we're going to have a location for it. And again, that helps drive revenue into the Veterans Ranch as an overall mission, okay, in between everything else. That's just the first 2 locations. There will be a couple more in North Texas. Then we'll go down to South Texas and get into the San Antonio, Houston, Austin area with Military Central down there. You got Fort Hood. Good Lord, over in Houston, you got the Space Center. So, I mean, you got military heaven down there. There goes the voice. Excuse me. But really pumped and excited about this. It's really exciting. Like you said, it takes determination and patience. I put a new nose on every day because people go, what? I'm like, nose to the grindstone, baby, every day.
Yeah.
And you got to put a new nose on because you wore that one out, and you got to start over. Andy Frisella, the guy that started First Form Nutrition in St. Louis. Look him up. He's an unbelievable guy. Him and his brother literally grew up in the city of St. Louis. Okay. And, Dad knows this, but if you're from the city of St. Louis, you are some of the most hard-nosed sumbitch people you've ever met in your life, because North St. Louis City still looks like bombed out Beirut. And, they knew that they wanted to start a nutrition company that was better than all the garbage and all the crap full of fillers and everything that's on your, I'll just say, a GNC or Vitamin Shop shelves, right? They got an office that they slept in, okay, in the city of St. Louis, mattresses in the back, and it's now a multi-billion-dollar company. Okay, worldwide multi-billion-dollar company. Why? Because he absolutely refused to give up. Anybody had anything negative to say, add it on the chip to the shoulder and use it as fuel. You're crazy. You can't get that done. Add it to the fuel. You know how many times I've been told in almost 8 years, your goals are too high? Put it on the chip and add it for fuel, man. I'm telling you, when I tell people we needed $20 million for the first property, I found out real quick where their mindset was. Because if they went, holy crap, boy, you'll never raise that much money, put it on the chip and add it for fuel, baby. I mean, we have just been, so that chip's taller than my hat right now, but things are starting to progress. So I say all that, I know I kind of sound like Tony Robbins here for a second, but, I say all that to say anybody out there, okay, if you're struggling with something, somebody needs to know what you know. If you're struggling with something, there's somebody doing worse than you that needs pulled out of that ditch, okay? Stick around. You're one of your prior guests, boy, and I say this all the time. Excuse me. Your kids need to be walked down the aisle. Your kids need to graduate and want to see their dad or their mom there. People need to know what you know. You have more knowledge to share than you realize.
Yet, look, there is not a single person on this earth that's walking around with no value. It doesn't, that's not, it's impossible. You've got something that someone needs. You've just got to stick around long enough. Like you said, look, life is short enough. You don't need to hurry it along. You don't need to do anything like this. JR, I'm sorry, I cannot find those pictures. I wish I could. If you send them to me again, I'll show them a little bit later. But,
Pump your email in the chat. I'll drop them to you.
All right.
I sent you a DM.
Oh, okay. There we go.
See, Kyle's our technology guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, George Strait says it best. We ain't here for a long time. We're here for a good time, and you got to make it the best time you can. I added the last part.
Yeah. Well, that's actually kind of funny. I was having a conversation yesterday about how, one of my favorite musicians kept screwing up the lyrics to the song that I wrote. I always did it right. They were the ones screwing it up. So
right, exactly. Yeah, there's not a bad moon on the rise. It's a bathroom on the right.
That's right. Hey, look. Here's the truth. All right, if they can turn in the Garden of Eden into Indigata Devita. Damn it, we can do our thing, all right?
That's right.
So, but yeah, that's still to me one of the funniest stories in the world. Yeah, we were just drinking so much that we went out to go and sing. Next thing we knew, we came up with this song Indigata Devita. We were like, what the hell was that? So, but anyway, here's the white one. Here's the actual horse. So, my version of a horse. But let's see here. Here we go. All right, let me get these up real quick before we. Oh, I guess I need to share it, huh?
There's one that's just got all 5 and.
Oh yeah. So here we go. All right, there on the hood. That's beautiful.
Yep, that was the Daytona car last week, and there you see Hire Heroes USA right there is right there on the side and the back. Yep, the ladies that we met, they were all veteran spouses that are all in the higher ups of this organization. So it's just amazing the people you meet in doing all this stuff, and they're from all over the country. Some of them were from Southern California, some were from Wisconsin. One was from Michigan. Kyle will appreciate this because he's from Michigan. Everybody from Michigan, they tell you where they're from because Michigan's shaped like a mitt, right? So she puts her hand up like this, and they all put the thumb out, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm from right up about here in Michigan."
all I know is that they say care.
Yeah,
I don't know. I had a friend from Michigan who she could not say car; it was care. And I'm like, okay, you got to sing the Beatles song, "Baby, You Can Drive My Car." Yeah, I got to hear you say it, But so, hey guys, I appreciate you all joining me. I really do. Mr. Smith, Kyle, thank you both very much for your service. We're in a situation of freedom because of your dedication. Short time, it doesn't matter. You still signed a check to say, you know what, do with me as you will. And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And I thank you for what you've done. JR, my friend, get some rest, get off your throat, and hopefully next year, you can get back here and we can do this again. And next year we'll be a little further along. But you guys keep up the hard work. Again, you can support the Veterans Ranch simply by scanning the QR code in the corner and shopping with any of the partners that you can find on the link there. It's a very simple process, folks. You shop with them. You don't spend an additional dime. You just shop with them, take a picture of the receipt, send it to us and say, I want to support the Veterans Ranch. They get 75% of whatever that company gives us. So continue to shop there. Continue to tell your friends. Let's get this going. Let's get this built because there are hardworking people out there doing good things. Gentlemen, again, thank you so very much.
Can I ask one favor? Can we close out with the commercial I sent you?
Was that on the same email? Because I'm not able to find that.
Yeah, it probably was. Huh?
It would have been from JR, not from me.
Yeah, it would have been for me that I'd have sent you originally.
Yeah, the one with the car on it. That's why I was saying I don't think I
find that email. All right,
it's brother. You know what? If you send it to me, I will play it. If you resend it, I'll play it a little bit later on.
You got it. I appreciate it. And brother, Zach mentioned earlier. I'll just stop with this, but we met in I think 2020, 21, somewhere around there, and we all came up. Some people aren't with us doing this anymore for obvious reasons. Zach knows what I'm talking about, but it was 222 for 22. It was just a unique thing that came up. And Zach said, I'm going to do a 22-hour podcast. And I'm like, yeah, what the hell?
Why not?
Why not? And yeah, I mean, was on it, and proud to still see you kicking with it, brother, and glad to be here today. I do more hours, but I don't know if my voice could carry it. But just love what you're doing, and we'll get you out to Texas on the ranch, and you know what, we'll do the podcast live from the ranch.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, like I said, I started this because God gifted me with three things: a big gut, a big butt, and a big mouth. And I can use one of them to benefit people. So I'll go on ahead and do that. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. And we will talk to you soon. Folks, we are starting another hour. We're moving along. So stick with us. We have to switch. So we're going to we're going to fade to black on this one, and then we're going to open up. So just refresh your page wherever you're at. Refresh your page. We'll be right back. Continue to support us. Continue to support organizations like the Veterans Ranch. Folks, it's good people doing really good things. And you all are amazing for watching us. Please refresh your page. Join us again. We'll be back in about 5 minutes on the other side. Thank you very much.